I have a theme of the day, the end of men. Women are beginning to take over the schools and now the country. And so if anybody wants to make a comment about that, you're free to do that. Would anyone like to make a comment about the end of men?
You had a good run.
It has been a long one. I guess it's about time to turn over. Our first request is someone to be a grammarian.
I can't if nobody else.
Would you like to do that?
Sure.
We have a guide form for you. You don't have to follow it, but it has some interest. And the word is already up on the board, so you're kind of stuck.
You want me to come up, Joe, or
I'm sorry?
are you done? Or I didn't know if you were wanting me to come up, so.
Okay, if you want to come and introduce your word.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we're gonna get it. So the word that was picked is idiom, and don't have the correct pronunciation of it, but a speech form or expression of a given language is peculiar to itself grammatically, or that cannot be understood from the individual meaning of the elements. Here's some examples: put up with, feel at ease, how about, or, and here's a sentence. It also can be a specialized vocabulary used by a group of people. And I want to add one more. I'm going to have my own twist of this word. There's bonus points for this one. And I can't even remember how to spell it. And I'm probably going to be wrong, and Stacy can correct me, but there'll be also bonus points for cattywampus.
That is certainly an idiom. You've got a good example. You need to put the one in that I had, which is table topics, which is also an idiom.
Okay.
Nobody could figure that out from what the normal use of the word is. So thank you so much for giving us a marvelous new term.
Okay.
Well, we might as well get the timer introduced too, after all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Hello, Toastmasters. My name is Sarah, and I will be your timer today. And fortunately, we have two speakers, I think, right? Courtney and Stacy, who have stepped up and filled in our open roles that we had last minute. And for the speeches, we'll have 5 to 7 minutes or 8 to 10, depending. And when you hit your lower threshold, you'll see the green card and the green light in the back. When you have 1 minute remaining, the yellow card, and the time up will be the red card and the red light. Then we'll have our table topics, which will be led by Kowski, and those are going to be 1 to 2 minutes long. At 1 minute, you'll see the green, 1.5 the yellow, and 2 minutes the red. And finally, our evaluators will get 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes the green, 2.5 minutes the yellow, and 3 minutes will be the red. And at the end, I will come up and give my timers report.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Well, we better have something to time, right? Does nobody want to talk about the end of men? There's no comment required for that? I think I heard a comment over here. You want to say it again?
You had a good run, men. Take it from here.
I guess it's our turn to give up now and to be graceful. Well, now it's time to start the main subject in the meeting, which Courtney is going to give a talk on. And I'm afraid I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
I'm just doing the humor inspiration.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Just
forgot.
a minute or two.
I sure didn't mean to cut you short. We first are going to have a humor talk.
All right. I'm going to put inspiration because what I'm talking about is not humorous. But, okay, so I went to New York about 2 weeks ago. And I've been to New York quite a few times in my life, but this is the first time that I got to see the 9/11 Museum completely finished. And it was absolutely amazing, and I would definitely recommend anybody going to see it. I feel like they did such a wonderful job, and it's something that I think everybody needs to see. But one piece of it is, out of all the things that I walked through in the entire museum, and it is a very long and deep museum. The floors go down many levels, and there's so much to see. You could spend a whole day. But the one thing that I could not really bring myself to look at is they had a Dog Heroes book in the gift shop, and I couldn't. I had to go. Of all the things I saw, I couldn't look at the Dog Heroes book. It was too much. And then yesterday I found out that the oldest living surviving dog of the 9/11 that helped with all the rescue efforts, her name is Brittany. And Brittany just passed away. She was just short of her 17th birthday. And so this is a picture of Brittany, and she was one of the dogs that was out with her handler for 12 hours a day, searching for people, and then eventually, if there was no one else to be found, she became more of a recovering. But it was really cool to read about her story, because throughout her entire life, she served. She served as an actual disaster relief dog until she was 9, and then after that she actually served as a therapy dog in schools to help kids with reading. And so her owner stayed with her whole life, and this is her swimming in her little pool, because as she got older she had arthritis and everything, but her owner got her a pool and all of that. So it's just really cool. And I would say that if you ever want to find out more on Brittany, there was a Sweet 16 YouTube video for Brittany last year where they gave her like the key to the dog park of New York and took her on the best day ever, and she got to have treats and fun and a great day. So that's a very positive and fun video if you want to find out a little more about Brittany and her life and how she served New York and our country.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Yes, she was. Brittany and her handler, Denise, were both women.
Somehow we're going to find men somewhere in this meeting. Thank you very much, Kaylee. That was not the view of New York that most of us have. Well, now, as I started to say before, Courtney is going to give us a talk, and I'm curious to know what it's about, because I didn't ask her.
The title is Just a Bunch of Words.
Just a bunch of words. That pretty well covers a lot of things.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Crutch. Will you marry me? I'm pregnant. Congratulations, you've been accepted. How many of you have heard these words before, or perhaps even said these words? Words have the incredible ability to change people's lives, and they're very simple words at that. Some of the most memorable and powerful words that have been said may not have come from somebody you know, perhaps a stranger, or most likely a public figure with whom you're not acquainted. In the movie, The Silence of the Lambs, the senator's daughter has been kidnapped by a serial killer. A bunch of the FBI recruits are watching the senator make a plea for her daughter's life on television. And the senator keeps saying her daughter's name, Catherine. Catherine. Just talk to Catherine. You'll find out what a nice person Catherine is. One of the FBI recruits remarks, "Wow, that's really smart. If he sees her as a person and not just a thing, it's harder to cut her up." Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, by just saying that one word, somebody's name, you have the power to bring up very powerful emotions. Words, when they're used correctly, or when they're used incorrectly, have the power to change a person's life forever. Some of the most powerful words that people hear are very short words. For example, will you marry me? Some people spend their entire lives waiting and hoping to hear those words, while other people spend their whole lives trying not to say those words. I would like to give you 2 examples of words that have been said and the very powerful impact of those words. 4 words, very simple in nature, extremely powerful in their effect. I have a dream. Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. With his speech, he tried to make the world a more equal one, if not an equal one, and he also ensured that minorities have a voice. Why were these words so powerful? People still commit their lives to his dream for one very simple reason. They believe the words he said. They believed in the words he said and his dream, but more specifically, the way he conveyed his message. And people have spent their entire lives trying to bring Martin Luther King's dream to a reality. Now, this is an example of a man in the past. Now, we're going to move to the other example, which is a woman paving the future. In 2006, a girl gets her first job out of college, stunning, blonde at the time, probably brunette now these days, you know. She felt she knew everything. Graduated with honors, and she moved to Rochester, Minnesota to work at the prestigious Mayo Clinic. 6 months go by, and the girl has a really tough time settling professionally. Her coworkers are all her age, so they're all very young lab, but they're going through the same kind of thing, so nothing really puts her off. So all having the same experience as first job out of college. However, there was a really rough weekend for her, and she ended up getting suspended from her job. 3 days, 3-day suspension, with no pay. That's how you get the attention of a 21-year-old. Do not pay them. It was a Thursday and a Friday, and the following Monday. Following the performance appraisal that followed her suspension, she was given the opportunity to read some of the comments that were written by her coworkers and by the management staff. As you might have guessed, there were a few suggestions for improvement, but the one that she remembers crystal clear. When I see I have to work a weekend with her, I don't like it because she doesn't do her work. Wow. That hurts. There's a little truth to that statement, I guess. All these people couldn't be wrong. As a result, on her next performance appraisal, she was given a needs further development instead of achieve expectations. And she missed her opportunity to go from evening shift to day shift for 3 reasons. She didn't earn it, and nobody liked her bad attitude, and they didn't want to work with it. In case you might have guessed, that stunning, fabulous girl who needed further development was me. In 3 weeks, actually shorter than 3 weeks, I will be celebrating my 10-year anniversary here at Mayo Clinic. Thank you, thank you. I still remember every word of that performance appraisal. I've had 9 of them since then. The only one that I remember, the only one that I feel when I walk into my supervisor's office, wondering if somebody's going to tell me that they don't like working with me again. Every time I get called into my supervisor's office, my stomach drops, I get clammy hands. If she needs to talk to me and close the door, I'm done. Forget it. I'm so nervous, and I can barely focus on what she's trying to tell me because I just want that door open. Instead of being bitter about that evaluation, however, I needed to take a look at myself, and I needed to see if there was any truth in that message. I needed to determine all those people couldn't be wrong. It's a pretty powerful thing to realize at 22 years old. I was forced to listen and to try to accept what other people thought about me. There is not a day, not one day, that goes by that I know I could have been fired instead of suspended. I could have been that example. But my supervisor took a chance on me. I owed it to her to become a better person, both personally and professionally. I got my stuff together in a big way. As I just said, I am away. I'm about 3 weeks away from celebrating my 10-year anniversary with the same lab. I hold the academic rank of instructor for lab medicine and pathology, and above all, I'm a Toastmaster. I go to work every day to a job that I love with a positive attitude, even if I'm not in a good mood. Nobody wants to deal with a negative attitude, even if they don't blame me for having a negative attitude. So my charge to you, ladies and gentlemen, what words would your coworkers and family and friends use to describe you? Would you hear the words that I once heard, lazy, doesn't like to work? Or would you hear the words that I hear now? Team player, always willing to help out. Everybody says that they don't care what other people think of them, but that's an outdated notion because at some point we are all affected by what other people think of us. Just remember, if you don't remember the words that you say to a person, somebody else will.
Courtney, I'd like to thank you very much for using such powerful, short sentences. I'd like to mention a couple more. You're fired. I do.
No.
But I'd like to I'd like to make the point that the sharpest way to finish a speech is with a short sentence. What a great speech.
Ah, thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce,
Oh, do you want 1 minute for
a minute first. Yeah.
evaluations?
Could you give us a minute? I notice a lot of people are still writing. Looks like you're gonna get some feedback. Which is what the main payoff for giving this talk, sir. And incidentally, I'd like to compliment both Courtney and Stacy for volunteering at the last minute. Oh, and the grammarian also. I mean, we've almost got a completely spontaneous meeting. And now Stacy's going to do something, but I don't think I quite understand it. But you will when she's finished.
Well, as Joe mentioned, we had our speakers sort of dropped out at the last minute, and
I'm going to get out of the way from you.
and so I was trying to think of things that people might be interested in, and I thought, you know what, I'm taking over from Chris as your president starting in July. And I thought this would be a really good time to sort of introduce my leadership style to you, to tell you what I think a team and a leader and how they work together, and then to find out what sorts of things this club wants to emphasize or focus on in the next year. What I'm going to do, because I see that we have a fairly sparse crowd, and also because I don't think we should make big decisions without thinking about it, is after I get this speech, I'll go back to my office and I'll write down sort of the summary of what I said and the summary of our discussion here, and send it out to the rest of the club for their feedback as well, so that I can hear from everybody. I think that teams, in order to be successful, need to have 3 things. They need to have members that are suited for their roles. There needs to be a shared common goal that supports the individual's goals, and there needs to be a leader who supports that growth and development. When I was in college, I was in the wind ensemble at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and we were our mission was to be the best wind ensemble in the region. Most of the people that I played with were performance majors, and I was an English major, but as I played with them, I learned, and I think this is probably the case in all teams, that the band was only as good as its weakest member. But that didn't mean that every member had to be exactly the same or have the same skill set. I was a percussionist, and I usually ended up playing things like the triangle and cymbals, which they're pretty easy to pick up and play, but if you screw up, you really make, everybody hears it. If you drop the cymbals, I'll tell you from experience. But the important thing was not that I could be able to play the timpani or to play all of the percussion instruments, as well as the performance majors. It was that I was able to do what I needed to do. And if I couldn't, I had the resources to find out how I could get help, learn how to do it, or get that role up to somebody who was better suited for it. That is the sort of atmosphere that I would love to continue to cultivate in this group. Each one of us, I have to assume, is here because they want to be a better Toastmaster. And I was looking at, when we induct new members now, we have this Toastmasters promise. There's 10 things on it. And I have to assume that I'm going to start with this assumption, as your leader, everybody, is that we want to be better Toastmasters, okay? There's 10 elements on this list. There's 10 different things that we can do. And interestingly, not one of them is to become a better speaker. That's just a side effect, apparently. But I don't think we'll be successful if we try to be everything. If I try to support you in being everything to everyone. So what I would like to do is to talk about what kind of goals that we do want to set. I have some suggestions and thoughts here. What we want to set for priorities. And part of this is going to be having everybody think about what their individual goals are for this year. I can tell you that I'm hoping to finish my competent communicator manual. And another goal that I have is to finish my essential leadership. Is that what it's called? Competent leadership. Sorry, I'm your leader before I'm talking. So those are 2 goals that I have, but there's more than that, and it could be that these are some of the things that I was thinking about. It could be maybe that when I talk to all of you, you'll tell me that your goal is maybe to be a better evaluator, to improve your skills as an evaluator, or maybe you want more experiences in the club that mirror real world experiences. Very rarely in my day-to-day life am I called upon to give a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech about something that I want to talk about. Normally, it's more things like I'm called out on the spot to explain something that I hadn't been thinking about previously, or even when I am asked to give prepared speeches, it's usually I'm given a topic. So maybe that's something we want to do. Maybe we want to have a couple of meetings that are more mirrors of a real-world experience than those sorts of situations that you actually experience in your day-to-day life. Maybe one of the things, and again, I'm just throwing these things out here before I be quiet and write things on my board in colored pens. Maybe one of the things we'd like to do as a club is to have a series of speeches given by the members about what it is to be the Toastmaster or the timer or the evaluator. These are speeches that could count towards your competent communicator, but someone would have to organize that, and that person could be me as your president. The other thing that we could talk about is that we have all these beautiful ribbons over here on our leg. Well, there's a designation called the Distinguished Club Program, and there's a series of items that a club needs to complete. And if this is something that we want to do for the club, I'd like to approach it with a formal plan in place and not just, come June next year be like, oh yeah, we did that. So, the other side of that though is maybe we're not at all interested in becoming a distinguished club program. I mean, maybe that's not important to us at all. And maybe the things that we are interested in is to become a better speaker. Whatever those priorities are, that's what I want to be able to focus my energies on supporting for this group, okay? Any questions so far before I'll tell you one thing. One thing that I'm going to do when I send out this email is to ask people to start thinking about what their personal goals are for the upcoming year. Because the more common themes I find, the better able I'll be to set up situations that support you meeting your individual goals as well as our club goals. Okay? So now I would like to open up the floor to things that you want to do, to things that you think the club might, you would like us to focus on.
Oh,
Yes, Courtney?
hi, yes. I think it would be really nice to know where members are in their manuals and what they're working on. Everybody, when they give speeches, I love hearing them, but I have no idea where they are at, what they're working on, and kind of what their strengths are. Like if somebody's working, Ahmed, if he was working on the humorous manual, he would be a good one to go to. I think it'd be really interesting just to know where I joined this club because the members were so welcoming. And, hey, awesome. But I would like to know where you guys are at.
Okay. That would be nice.
Stacy, I really like that sort of an instigator behind this, the table topics day. That was enjoyable, and that is one of the areas I know I need to work on more is off the cuff. All of a sudden you're asked to talk and do it in a logical way. And yes, Sarah, you would enjoy it. And maybe even do it quarterly. Have it's something different.
So impromptu speeches and maybe themed meetings, maybe not even just, yeah.
And I know one thing that we always talk about remembering to do, and I never remember, is to bring our leadership manuals so that we can get credit for all the roles that we fulfill. And so even if there was, when we were introducing roles, or I guess it would probably make sense before the meeting starts, but just like a call out of like, hey, who brought their manuals today, who needs an evaluator? That way everybody can be like, anybody who brought it can say, I need somebody to evaluate me quick, and then just swap out, because I feel like sometimes you don't know, well, you know if somebody has a role, but like, then you feel bad bothering them, but if there's not as many people here, I think it's easier if you just kind of throw it out to the group, like, can somebody just evaluate my timing today, or my humor, whatever.
You guys knew that the women were just gonna spit these ideas out now, so. Your area director, I think, will be talking about this shortly, but I think the Distinguished Club Program, I looked at this, and for the last 10 years, our club has been a President's Distinguished with the last 2 years. So I think it would be really nice to know what that means.
Okay.
And I think it's, to know what it means and to know if that's something that members, like, is there something I can do as a member that can contribute to that, or is it a larger group effort? You know, I've only been doing this for 5 months or 6 months or so, and I know you guys are fairly new too, like, at what point can we really start making these contributions and just know, I think that would be a really nice thing to just have, like you said, a formal plan, like this is the criteria we have to meet. Anybody can do this, or, you know, this is a team effort, we're gonna need a lot of us to do this.
And if we decide that we do want to be a distinguished club, then one of the things that I can do is be going through and meeting with people and saying, okay, Kaylee, we need, you know, I see that you want to get your competent leadership book filled. We need to have that done by April. Thank you. I'm just going to keep talking for a few minutes, Sarah. And then I'll say, Krishna, I know you want to get your competent leadership book filled out, but we have someone for April and we need someone for June. So I could facilitate that if that's a direction that we decided that we wanted to go. Yes, Joe?
I think that member attendance is one of the key issues that we should address. And I have an opinion about that. The experts on what's wrong with a meeting are the people who don't come.
Ah.
Asking people that are here what's wrong with the meeting is kind of silly because they obviously are here. It's the people who are not here that really know what's wrong with the meeting. And we should make a serious effort to ask each person who drops out or who refuses to join, what could we do to make the meeting more useful to you, more irresistible?
Related to that, another thing I was actually thinking about this morning was, we have some people who are very good, and I'm looking specifically at Sarah Jenkins, about knowing when she needs to do something. She keeps track of her roles. In fact, I believe your process is when I send out the schedule, she adds her role to the days that she's speaking to her Outlook calendar. And so even if we do forget to tell the Toastmaster that he's the Toastmaster, Sarah was, she was already planning on doing this, I know, because I talked to her on Friday and she told me she was going to be the timer. And some of us rely on that Toastmaster reminder email to kind of remind us that we have a role. So maybe that's something else that we can concentrate on, is maybe sharing things that work for us to make us stronger Toastmaster members, and that, more minds are going to come up with more creative ideas. So not the same thing is going to work for everybody, but the more ideas that we have out there to choose from, the better the chances are that we're going to be successful.
Yeah, could we use Google Calendar or something like that to?
That is an option.
Some people still use OL.
And Stacy, you could put out a network share too, that
Yes.
everybody could see it, which might be easier than trying to go through the webpage and sign in and all that.
True, especially since we've logged in out the schedules. I am going to stop talking now because I want to make sure we have time for the evaluation portion of our meeting, but like I said, I'm going to send out an email, and the people that I didn't hear anything from, I will hope to hear from when I send out the email. Okay? And I'll be following up, and again, anytime you have any thoughts or ideas or comments, please feel free to talk to me.
Thank you, Stacy. I hope you can email that stuff to us.
I will type it so that you can read it.
I'm at a loss now to say whether I should start doing the general evaluation or whether I should have the general evaluator do it. Would anybody give me a suggestion?
You get 1 minute first, right?
Well, you can evaluate, if you want to evaluate
Okay,
people, right
okay.
ahead.
I don't know.
That your turn for evaluation would come if you wanted. But we don't, will someone do that?
Do you know, why don't we move into table topics?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, of course, thank you. Well, at least we get to use one idiom today, right? Who's going to be the table topic master? I can't remember. Oh.
Council, yeah.
Costume, I bet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Toastmasters, and all the members. So, sorry. Yeah, so you have been in many situations before, like at least I had been, like after the thing happens, you feel that, oh, I should have done that before. For example, I've been at Mayo for almost 4 years now, and it's just been like a couple of months that I've joined Toastmasters. And after I joined it, I feel like, oh, I should have done that before. So I would like to ask anybody to share their experience when they felt like this.
I'll go again.
Thank you.
We touched on this, women are running the world. I love to talk. I felt that way about Toastmasters too. Mine specifically, I joined Toastmasters because I wanted to be a better speaker. And I love public speaking, gotta get more comfortable. Live it down. Actually, I learned a couple months into this that I benefit greatly from being a better listener because of Toastmasters. I know it was part of Amit's speech. I heard Amit talk about the power of listening numerous times, and every time it hit home with me. It kept hitting home, that I needed to be a better listener on a number of levels. One, put down the phone. That was a huge thing for me, absolutely. Always with the phone. I could talk to two different things at once. My husband's talking to me. Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. What? Yeah. I became became a slightly better person because of Toastmasters on many levels, and one of them was simply being a better listener. I listen to my girlfriends now. When I'm with them, I can always look at my phone. There's nothing on my phone. I lived as a whole person before I have that iPhone. I don't have a lot of girlfriends, but the girlfriends that I do have, I absolutely treasure those relationships. I'm fiercely loyal to those girls. Talk to them. What do you have to say? If I know my girlfriend's phone numbers without my phone, I can get a hold of them without this. They deserve my attention. I hold them in such high regard. Talk to them. My parents. My husband. Yeah, my husband. I know. He's a man. I know he's on the way out. It was a huge thing. Took my husband for granted. He's there. Oh, well, he knows. I don't need to do. That was the first person that I needed to listen to, and he still doesn't know what to do with this new person. So, better relationships. It was when I joined Toastmasters. Numerous benefits. I started getting them right away, but it was the listening. I was just, oh my gosh. I was just thinking about this, and obviously you heard my professional development hit a bit of a snag at some point. So. I wondered how I could have been a different person and how that impact would change if I wasn't that.
Do we have time for one more?
Oh, yes. Well, I guess maybe, yeah, we can do one more.
This is along the theme which we have today, and this question especially goes to men. So that we get an opportunity to talk today. So the question is, now we have a potential female president. So how are men dealing with it? Because I have already dealt with it, because I come from India and we already had one, and we had a female prime minister as well. So I have already gone through that. So how is everybody else dealing with it?
Thank you.
Now the men raise their hand. Yes.
You requested us. You go ahead.
So we may potentially have a female president next year. How do I feel about it? To me, it really doesn't make a difference. I really don't understand how people grasp between, oh, this is new, it's a female president. I don't view people based on their gender, their race, their height, their looks, anything. I base these politicians solely based on their logic, their views. Are they a good leader? A lot of people also don't realize that the president has a very limited role. I mean, there are hundreds of other senators and reps in Congress that there's been a lot of females, there's been a lot of male, different races, everything. To me, I don't view them as based on their gender. I view based on their logic, their views, and how they will.
I feel like I'm a fish that was swimming in an aquarium in my home when no one would care, and now I'm just swimming in the ocean, and now I'm learning how to swim in a new environment. We had, like you say, impromptu meeting kind of, because almost everyone was slacker, so we just came up and did the roll song. Thank you for Marian and both speakers for meeting us.
The project you worked on was Your Body Speaks. I think this was the perfect topic for it. You started off great. You